Welcome back to episode 2 of Woodward Tigers. I'm your host and beat reporter for the Detroit Tigers at the network, Nicholas Koloff, joined by the one, the only, Matt Broder.
Let's go.
Broder, how you feeling today after the Tigers went 2-2 on this Chicago series?
I know, not a great lead-in to this episode. We're recording here on Thursday night after that White Sox series, so a little tough energy with the split, but I'm still optimistic about this team. It's been a great week, so I'm ready to go.
Tough energy, but I know we'll bring the spirits up, especially
100%.
talking about the Tigers. We got to nitpick just a little bit here and there, but I will not be nitpicking too much for the best team in baseball. Still 41-23 after splitting a series with the Southsiders. You get to play the other team from Chicago, this time at Comerica Park, where it is tough to beat the Tigers.
Yes, it is. We got a great team coming into town, but let's not forget the Tigers are a great team too. Like, you're talking about nitpicking. We want to as fans and as analysts, but I think this team's deserved the faith, the patience to let them, all right, deal with the 2-2 series against the White Sox. Let's see what they can do this weekend against the Cubs.
Exactly. I'm right there with you. And talking about a team coming into town, if you do come into town, you got to talk about some Detroit style Coney Dogs of the Week. And that's why we're going to start on a high note, because one guy returned this week, and it is super utility, man. Wenceel Perez, he is my Detroit style Coney Dog of the Week. How about a return from Wenceel? He went 375 with his batting average, 9 hits, 3 RBIs, 6 runs, 2 dongs in this one. Yeah, what a week to be coming back for Wenceel Perez, and man, did this team need it.
And his first at-bat back was a huge one. Hit that solo home run, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you make a return. Yep. That's how you make your presence felt. We're going to talk more about Wenceel later in the show, but
excited to.
He's a big piece to this team, and I'm excited to see what he can do. That switch-hitting bat, it's huge.
Definitely, and plays good outfield as well. Sometimes it looks a little awkward, but the arm could be a little bit better, but I do like the way he tracks the ball out there more than a guy like Kerry Carpenter. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
No shout out to Kerry. Speaking of Kerry Carpenter, before we get to your Detroit style Coney Dog of the Week, Kerry Carpenter this week against the White Sox hit 3 home runs in a game, joining Victor Martinez, JD Martinez, Miguel Cabrera, Dimitri Young, Carlos Pena, and Bobby Higginson.
Bobby!
To have 3 home runs in a game this century. So Kerry joins legendary company there.
That's some those. I love those Tigers names, like some legends. But then you do mix in the Dimitri Youngs, who had some good seasons, had some good moments. Bobby Higginson, who had his moments too. I loved watching Bobby Higginson growing up. Absolute cannon.
I'd be lying if I said I know too much about him. But before we dive too deep, shout out to Kerry. Who is your Detroit-style Coney Dog of the Week for the Detroit Tigers?
I'm going with the guy who's overcome a slump that started earlier in the season, and he's starting to find his stroke. He's starting to find his consistency. Had a couple big hits in this series, a couple big hits in the Kansas City series this last weekend. It's Riley Green. Riley Green, he's starting to look like that all-star that the Tigers were banking on this year, starting to look like that guy that people want to talk about in the MVP race. He's not there yet, but the way he's turning it around, I see a big – I don't want to say second half, big final 3/4 of the season.
Yeah.
If Riley Green is playing like an all-star, this team's different. So I'm going to go with Riley Green. He was 8 for 17 in his last 5 games. A couple RBIs here and there, but I just like seeing that average get up.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. To me, Riley Green, to reach that elite level, it's not just the power. It's cutting down the strikeouts a little bit, and it's going to the opposite field, which we've seen a little bit more from Riley. Speaking of the RBIs, he had 2 RBI single last night, hitting the ball the other way. That's when I think Riley's truly at his best. If he's able to extend his arms and, hit the big fly, so be it. I love it. Obviously, everyone Chicks dig the long ball.
Chicks dig it.
But
Chicks also dig the bunt.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
What?
Yeah. I've never heard the.
I bring the bunt back. That's what make bunts great again.
Won today on bunting and advancing the runners to second and third. So I'll give you that.
Thank you. I'm sure Neil Rule was having an aneurysm watching the White Sox do that. There's some intricacies to bunting.
It's not easy, I'll tell you that.
It's not.
Fastball, high fastball. They're trying to get you to pop it up. I know that for a fact. It's hard to bunt in that scenario.
Yes. I was big on the bunt last year. It's a different team this year. They don't need to do it as much.
Exactly.
I will stop before I start going on a rant.
Okay.
Because I'm one of the few believers in bunting still.
Yeah. We'll save the bunt rant for another day. But Riley Green, I'm right there with you. To get that average up, he is going to be a 2-time back-to-back All-Star. I love that is your Detroit-style Coney Dog of the Week.
Nick?
Yeah.
Are you mad that I didn't pick Scooble or
I am not
almost
mad
Parker Meadows?
Because he didn't get the win.
Okay, fair.
That was
my deciding factor. Is like he pitched phenomenal.
Yeah, seven innings, 7 Ks, no walks, 2 hits. I mean, your ace did what your ace needs to do, but the team didn't hit for him.
Yeah. So I went with Riley.
Yeah, I like it. I mean,
Scooble's got to come up big against the Cubs this weekend.
For sure. This will break Saturday, I believe. So hopefully, we're talking about massive Scooble outing against the second best team in the National League.
Yes.
But would love to see more Oppo Taco, even though he is your dog of the week.
Yeah. Ooh, let us know in the comments. Who is your Detroit Coney Dog of the Week?
Yes, Detroit-style Coney Dog of the Week.
Yeah, D-A-W-G?
D-A-W-G.
It's the player of the week. Let us know who it is. Exactly. Or if you agree with us.
So we had to start with the positive because ultimately this team went 2-2 against the White Sox. If you need to pick it up, you're good.
Oh, yeah, we're good. We're live.
Yeah, we're live. We're rolling with it. So this team went 2-2 against the Chicago White Sox, which is... You don't want to go 500 against the White Sox in any day and age.
No.
No time, but especially being the best team in baseball, to go into the south side of Chicago and split, it doesn't leave you feeling great. And talk about not feeling too great, it was Spencer Torkelson is 1 for his last 18 out there for the big right-handed first baseman. And I don't want to overreact because he had a great game, but prior to going on this streak. But for this team to ultimately reach his ceiling, I think Torque needs to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
And I've almost seen a little bit of him missing the fastball down the plate that we've seen in years past.
Yeah.
Are you concerned at all about Torque moving forward? And if he does take a step back, are there some guys that you believe can step up for this team?
Yes and yes. Like I am a bit concerned with him taking a step back. Not that it's just a step back. I'm concerned with how big of a step back that will end up being. How high the floor of his step back could be. Because he was hot. He was as important as any player on this team to start the season. Exactly. And I think his success will lead to this team staying as one of the best teams in Major League Baseball and definitely the American League. But he wasn't going to keep that up all season. I never thought that. I knew he was going to regress a little bit, but how low will that go? Can he keep a 250, 260 average and hit 30, 35, 40 home runs? If he does that, I'm okay. I would love it to be 270, 275, 280. But if he can just consistently drive runners in, when they're in scoring position, that's what we need him to do. When he gets those moments at the end of the game, we need him to come through in the clutch. So 1 for 18, I'm not worried about this slump in particular, but what makes some players great in the MLB, what gives A.J. Hinch confidence in guys like Colt Keith to keep him in the lineup when they're not hitting very well, is their ability to make adjustments. So what kind of adjustments can Torkelson make now that pitchers have adjusted to him this season? So we'll see.
To me, the biggest thing for Torque is not being late on that fastball. I've seen him foul some back. That's how you know you're a little late. And to me, that is the biggest difference. Right now, his average has dropped below 230, coming in at 227. He still has 14 homers, 42 RBIs. You could talk about him legitimately being an all-star, which would be great to see for Spencer Torkelson and his confidence. But I'm looking at the Cubs series for a big get-right series for Torque. Hopefully, that is the case. But if he does ultimately take a step back, this team just got some reinforcements. We hit on them a little bit earlier. in Wenzel Perez
Yep.
and Parker Meadows. How big of a difference and how high of a ceiling does this team have with these two guys healthy and producing in this lineup?
Yeah, I think the ceiling of this team raises dramatically with Parker Meadows back.
Yeah.
I think the strength of this team and the floor stays higher than it is with Wenzel Perez coming back. Wenzel being a switch hitting utility player that is now primarily an outfielder but can play the infield, I think is so clutch for a manager like AJ Hinch, being able to use him in so many different situations. But Parker Meadows is an absolute game changer. He's a difference maker. He's an organizational changer, if that's a phrase I can say. He makes an incredible difference to this team. I know Javi Baez had an incredible start to the season and played way over my expectations in center field and
Everybody's.
At the bat. Yeah, yes. But it's, to me, like, I never expected him to do what he did in the batter's box, but he held his own plus some in center field.
Plus outfielder, I agree.
Yeah, it got to the point where people were like, what do you do with Parker Meadows when he comes back? You can't take Javi out of center field.
Yeah.
That's insane. To start, Parker Meadows, if healthy, you chalk him in center field 100 out of 100 times.
Yep.
You know, unless you got a stud lefty on the mound and you want to give him a day off. Nonetheless, he's that good of a defender, and he's hitting the ball well too. He hit the ball well in his rehab, in his coming up his rehab stint in AAA.
Yep.
And I like what he can do at the big league level. I know he was a big difference maker last season.
Yeah, the biggest difference maker possibly of all time last season. Shout out Broder for that little alley-oop. Parker Meadows last year got sent out on May 7th, but when he returned last season, this team went 36-14 with him in the lineup. That equates to a 720 winning percentage, which equals 116 wins over the course of a 162 game season. And the reason that stat is so big is because that is the most wins of all time, tied with the 2001 Mariners and the 1906 Cubs. This team gets significantly better when Parker Meadows is in the lineup, roaming center field, stretching doubles into triples, stretching singles into doubles. If he is able to walk a little bit more, he is taking a walk and making it a stolen base, guy in scoring position. And if you're hitting a single, I can bet your bottom dollar that Parker Meadows is going to score from second base. If you're hitting a double and he's on first, 100 times out of 100 times, he is soaring around the base pass into home and scoring that run. Parker Meadows plays Gold Glove center field. This guy is legitimate. I believe could be the best player on the best team in baseball. He just needs to find consistency with his swing, and I don't want to take anything away from Riley Green right now.
Yeah.
But Parker Meadows is astronomical. Like, the importance of him is insane for this team, and the numbers back it up.
Yeah, he could very well, by the end of the season or next season, be the best Tiger, not named Tarek Skubal.
Oh, yeah, I'm talking lineup-wise.
Right.
Yeah.
We know Tarek Skubal's in a league of his own. Shout out Tom Hanks. Untouchable. Riley Green right now is the best player on this team, but Parker Meadows has all the tools to become the best player on the team. And if you have him and Riley Green playing to their potential, you have Colt Keith continuing to develop and grow, and then all the other, like this team is so young. They're so fun to watch. They still have so much room to grow.
Yeah.
Like, the special part about Parker Meadows coming back and Wenzel Perez coming back is the fact that they weren't there to start the season, and this team's the best in baseball.
Yep.
So, like, you have guys like Javi Baez, Trey Sweeney, McKinstry playing out of his mind. I keep hearing this team of destiny stuff, and I don't know, that stuff sometimes is a little cheesy to me, but you start to think about it because these guys are not only turning it around and playing well. I'm talking the Javi Baez's of the world. Yeah. They're doing it when you need them.
Exactly. When
Parker Meadows and Matt Vierling are injured. So it's like, man, they were able to build up this record, best in baseball, without Parker Meadows.
Yeah.
Like, now the sky's the limit. There are going to be some ups and downs, some bumps and bruises. They just split with the White Sox. We don't like to see that.
Yeah.
But
it's like sky is falling around because we had a split.
Yeah. We didn't lose the series.
That's how good we are.
Yeah. At least you didn't go and lose the series. Yep. So they're winning series. They're splitting series. That's good. You don't want to lose series.
Yeah.
So they're good. Now we got to go win a series at home against the Cubs.
Which I believe We will, because we're going to get off on the right foot with Tarek Skubal on the mound. And you talked about a bunch of guys stepping up. I just want to give a quick shout out to soon-to-be all-star, or should-be all-star, catcher Dylan Dingler.
Yes.
When Rogers got hurt, Dylan Dingler steps up and he's legitimately going to be in the all-star conversation, hitting just under 300, catching back there, calling great games for his starters. And A.J. Hinch just raves about him day in and day out, what Dylan Dingler means to this team. He had a big pinch hit last night where he's blooping one into right center. You got your catcher who has a day off pinch hitting. That's the kind of team that is going on right now. Love to see it. Wanted to give Dingler a little bit of praise.
He's one of the best all-around catchers in MLB defensively.
Yeah.
And we're seeing his bat in action. Like, we're seeing him hit just under 300.
Right.
That's the part that you were curious about. Is he going to be able to develop into a major league hitter? We can see he's got all the tools, and still a lot of room to grow because he refuses to walk. So once he even takes it to the next level, he's got the right approach. He's an athlete. He can hit with power. Yep. I don't know if you remember the old Pirates catcher Jason Kendall. Does that name ring a bell?
I remember the name Kendall.
I want to say late 90s, early 2000s. Yep. One of a catcher who stole bases, had some power. Dylan Dingler reminds me of him with a little more power potential. He's a great athlete. He'll steal 15 to 20 bases sometime soon in the bigs. Dylan Dingler is our catcher of the future, it's great to see.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think he is the whole 9 yards you need out of a catcher, and I'm super excited about his future, and I know we're going to just continue to do breakdowns of Dylan Dingler because he's not going anywhere for any time soon. But one guy that pitches to said Dylan Dingler,
he does,
is a former #1 overall pick, and it is a guy that's been through a lot in his major league career. But he's putting together his best season. He pitched today, didn't have his best stuff. It's Casey Mize. I love what I've seen out of Casey Mize to start 2025, as he is he's tallied a 2.91 ERA on the season for Casey Mize. 45 Ks, 12 walks, and 51 innings. He's been so impressive. It wasn't there today with his fastball command, but his not just perfect pitch splitter, the one he got drafted on. But the thing that stood out to me is his slurve, his breaking ball right now, his slider, whatever they're calling it, whatever pops up on the screen there, has been lights out. Yeah,
it's a slurve. He threw last year. He threw his slurve 1% of the time last year, a handful of pitches across the season. It's now his third most used pitch. He throws it almost 16% of the time and getting a 30% whiff rate on it. So it's things like that. It's throwing that splitter more, having confidence throwing that splitter more. He's actually throwing less fastballs this year, but of all those 3 pitches, he's getting more whiffs. And that was his problem last year. That was why even when his velocity was up before he got hurt, he couldn't get that strikeout. He couldn't put guys away. He couldn't get strikes early in the count when he's trying to get in the zone because they would hit it. This year, he's throwing them. He's throwing them more effectively in the zone, and he's getting swing and misses.
Yup, that's big because that's been the story of his career. Throughout his career, when he started in 2020, he had a 6.99 ERA, so just below 7. 2021, his second best season in the majors, 3.71 ERA. 2022, 5.4 ERA. 23 injured, comes back last year, just under a 4.5 ERA. This year, he has a 2.91 ERA, but like I said the stats earlier, the biggest thing is the 51 innings, 45 Ks. You want that K to be almost right at that inning mark. And for his to be just under is a big step forward for a guy that wasn't able to do it in the past.
Right.
So I love that you highlighted that and that he's able to finally get these whiffs, although you didn't see him too much today.
Right. Today was not his best game, but what I do like to see is he battled. It was a brutal first 2 innings. Didn't give up a run. Goes out in the third, 6-pitch inning. All right, he gets back on track. And tough day for him, but you leave the game only giving up 2 earned runs. With the way this offense has been playing, you expect to win a game leaving in the 4th or the 5th inning, only giving up 2 runs.
4 2/3, 4 1/3,
They didn't, but that's it. He's also his command in the strike zone is a lot better this year, and he's still got some stuff to work on, but he's getting less ground balls. We talk about whiffs, but they're also not barreling up the ball as much. So he's getting less ground balls, but he's getting a lot weaker fly ball outs. So I don't know. With the stuff that he has, I kind of would like to see more ground ball outs, but nonetheless, if you're getting weak contact, that channels success to me when I think of Casey Mize.
I believe you wholeheartedly, and like some of that deep fly ball contact that you think about, like maybe with a Jackson Jobe or Flaherty at the beginning of the season, you truly aren't seeing that with Casey Mize,
Right.
and he used to give that up the big home run, and that's why his ERA numbers were inflated throughout his first 5 years of his career. For him to be under, and everybody on social media was overreacting today about Casey Mize. I talked about his first inning and how he got out of it, and I'm just getting ripped in the comments like Casey Mize blows, Casey Mize. I'm like, what are you guys watching? Can we just take a step back? I know sometimes I'm microwave Nick in a sense of I do like to overreact, but
that's part of it.
But I think with covering this team and being in deep to every single game, you do have to take a step back and realize Casey Mize is legitimately, when he's on, a top 3 arm in this rotation. Debatably, like you could debate that he's number 2.
Yeah. He's got ace stuff.
Yeah.
He's a number 2 on this team, or has number 2 stuff on this team.
Yep.
And like we were talking about earlier with Javi and Co, Casey Mize, when Jack Flaherty wasn't pitching that great at the beginning of the season, Casey Mize stepped up and he was that number 2. Exactly. Like that's what's fun about this team. When one player isn't playing their best ball, they got their brother to pick them up. Yep. Dude, you talked about when he came in the league in 2020, and I was playing around on Baseball Savant earlier, and they have some really amazing stats out there. But his arm angle coming into the bigs, he threw, and I'm going left-handed here, but he threw at a 32-degree arm angle. So, like, I'm trying to think. Here we go. 45. It's like, 30. He's throwing, like, sidearm.
Yeah.
And he's had back issues and elbow issues, all these injuries. This season, his best season so far, he's up to a 45-degree arm angle. So his fastball's got more on it. He's stronger. He put on 15 pounds of muscle when he was injured. He channeled his Garrett Cole.
Exactly.
And I know Garrett Cole is injured and out for the season, but from like a physical perspective.
Don't tell Rob Parker that.
I know. Max Fried's the best pitcher in baseball.
Last time we're mentioning him on this podcast ever. So,
yeah, right.
Sorry,
Come on,
I had to
Rob.
say it then.
Come on, Rob. But the things Casey Mize is adjusting to with this pitching coach staff, this pitching staff of Chris Fetter and London Nieves, Casey Mize, if he can stay healthy, he's one of those guys at 28 years old. He still has room to get better too.
100%, and he is the best staff in baseball to get better with. So I believe he will continue to get better, and that's everyone's freaking out today about one bad start. I think it's good for him in the long run to get a
diversity,
have
baby.
to battle through it. And like you said, he had 33 pitches, if I'm not mistaken, through the first inning, and he gets out of a bases-loaded jam. Second inning, strands the runners. It's like this is good for Casey Mize in the long haul, and I truly would. I was buying all the stock in the offseason when I saw his stuff. I was all the way back on Casey Mize, and they talked about it on the podcast with Dan Dickerson and Jason Benetti. That he had to look himself, Have a Seat podcast, shout out, that he had to look himself in the mirror and realize he had to make changes, and that he wasn't the talent wasn't just gonna outweigh all big league hitters all the time like it was his whole entire life. So for him to look in the mirror, take a step back, make the changes he needed to, like that body, like you said, get back in the gym. I love that for his attitude, just like anybody else on his team, willing to make the change for the best team in baseball. And I can see Casey Mize being a huge part of this team for, not just this year, next year, like for a big-time Tiger for life if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Because he battled through adversity so early, and I think he's come out shining so bright.
Yeah, I'd encourage everyone to go check out the Have a Seat podcast with Jason Benetti and Dan Dickerson. Side note, how lucky are we to have those two calling Tigers games all season? All of the broadcasters and announcers for our Detroit sports teams, we are spoiled. But go check out that podcast. He talks about that adversity that he battled when he was hurt, and it's something that it's hard to explain. It's hard to it's hard to explain, but him not being able to play baseball, not be able to throw a baseball for 12, 18 months for the first time in his life, first time since he was like 4 years old. He was in his head. He was having problems psychologically, and through that injury, he's been able to work with the Tiger sports psychology team. He's been able to get his mind not right, but have different perspective with things. Enjoy life outside of baseball so that when he comes to work, he can put in that much more effort and he enjoys the game that much more. It was fascinating to listen to them. The questions Benetti and Dickerson asked him, phenomenal. I love how thoughtful Benetti is with like every question he asked. Yeah. You can tell he thought about every word. And Casey Mize gave some great answers back. Yeah. He's been a stud his whole life. Had to battle through some adversity, and now we're seeing some of the fruits of that labor show up. So I caution everyone, don't worry about this one game or a bad game that he pitches later in the season, because he will. If you're going to worry about anything, worry about injuries, because that left hamstring for a right-handed pitcher is way more important than anybody is talking about. Worry about injuries. Don't worry about his stuff this game.
Yeah, his stuff is going to be just fine, and we go from some injuries and stuff being just fine to a guy that ultimately was always going to be just fine after March and April. We're going to start with a former second baseman who still gets a little bit of PT there. If Torres has a day off, which we'll hit on as well. We're going to hit on a couple second basemen to end this one. But Colt Keith, this guy, Colt, now he's playing second. Now he gets moved to first. Now he's getting play at third base for the first time ever in his career. Colt Keith, what can this lefty not do?
Nothing.
Besides start hot in the MLB.
Yeah, just like hitting in March and April. Yeah, he hasn't shown he can do that yet. But if you like take his stats after April, the dude's an absolute stud. Yeah, I know you are a big Colt Keith guy. This organization was a big fan of Colt Keith, giving him the first long-term contract extension in the history of the Scott Harris era. Before he even played a single game in the major leagues, Colt Keith got the extension. Broder, what do you see out of Colt Keith that makes him so dynamic for this team? And do you ultimately see him playing first, second, third base for the remainder of his career? Is he going to settle in somewhere? I can see him settling in as a first baseman for the rest of his career. Right now, with how Torkelson has been playing, how Gleyber Torres has been playing at second base, and your lack of a third baseman, you got to have him in the lineup. And I say that without – he doesn't have the best stats, like he's heating up now, but he had a brutal April. It was a brutal start to the season, but there's a reason why they rewarded him with that contract before stepping foot in the major leagues. It's because of his superpower. His superpower is making adjustments. And that's what you have to do at the major league level. They saw it in the minors. You can see what type of mind this kid has, his work ethic to prepare, and also to not get too high, not get too low. When he's in these slumps, he's not worried. And AJ Hinch trusts him. Like, when he was at his worst early in the season, he was still just chalked in the number 3 spot.
Oh, yeah.
And he wasn't playing well. No. But he's there because AJ Hinch knows as long as he's getting consistent at bats, he's going to make the proper adjustments. He's going to turn it around. I tweeted something right before the beginning of the season, said Colt Keith, in the next 5 years, he's going to win a batting title. I still believe it.
You do?
He's that type of hitter. Defensively, I don't know if he's ever going to be above average. He could be an average defender, especially if you put him at first base. But he will be one of the better left-handed hitters in Tigers history when it's all said and done. Yeah, book it. Book it. Book it.
I wish I was behind the booth right now for a little alarm horns going on. Broder said it here first. And to take a look back, I mean, I love his bat to ball skills. Like, flat out, that's what stands out the most to me. Like, the adjustments are great because obviously he has to make them when if he starts cold and has to, heat up throughout the season, which its OPS is inching closer and closer to 800 in his last 28 games. And this contract, looking back, it was a 6-year, $28.64 million extension with the Tigers, including a $2 million signing bonus. This value can reach over $82 million over 9 years.
It's a genius structure to a contract.
I love this idea.
Yeah.
I want to get Brasenio on this deal. I want to get Kevin McGonigal on this deal. Right. I want to get Max Clark on it when the time comes, Bryce Rayner included.
Did you hear about Bryce Rayner, by the way?
Did it officially break?
I'm not sure.
No, there's
dislocated shoulder or something. I
haven't seen anything official yet. But horrible news about Rayner. But
and then how ULE gets pegged in the face.
Pegged in the face, yeah. Our minor league system's getting beat up right before any of them can be dealt potentially for a big all-star which is not the topic of discussion today, which we will talk about one day.
It's coming up soon.
2 months before the trade deadline, just under 2 months. But yeah, Colt Keith, I love the bat to ball skills. I think he's going to be super important. And if he can play third base, like AJ Hinch said, it just adds so much positional versatility for this team where he can pinch hit him late and not have to feel bad, or pinch hit somebody at first base or second base, wherever he's playing, and he can still shift them over to third base. If they have a righty on the mound, Colt rakes against righties. So I feel great about Colt Keith moving forward. And to be honest, he might move back to second base if this guy plays himself into a massive contract. That guy being Gleyber Torres has been the best second baseman in baseball this season in terms of OPS. He has been everything and anything and everything that this Detroit Tigers team needed. 1 year, $15 million deal in the offseason. This one got poo-pooed. It got looked over. Nobody was ecstatic about Gleyber Torres. I thought it was a brilliant signing. I thought you're bringing in a former All-Star, a guy that gives your lineup a lot more depth. You get a big league at bat night in and night out, and you're seeing a lot more of All-Star Gleyber and prospect Gleyber right now for the Detroit Tigers, and that's controlling the zone and it's putting bat to ball. Broder, what's been the most important or most impressive thing in your eyes for the Gleyber Torres Detroit Tigers start of his career?
Yeah, you just said it. It's his control of the strike zone. Like, he's chasing less balls out of the strike zone. He's also swinging at less in the strike zone. So he's simplified his approach. And this is shout out to Michael Budar and the hitting staff. But he's simplified his approach where until he gets 2 strikes, he's just waiting for his pitch. His pitch that he can drive and do damage on. When he gets to 2 strikes, they talk about it in Little League. Choke up, shorten your swing, and put the ball in play. He's taking the pitch, the 2-strike pitches that he's given, and he's driving it where the pitch is coming. So his ability to simplify that approach, where he had a couple good years early in his Yankees career, struggled over the last few years. He's been inconsistent. He's now the most reliable hitter at the top of the lineup for the best team in baseball. How bad do Yankees fans wish they could say that was in New York? It's Detroit.
Exactly. Yeah, that it has to be one of the most underrated signings of all time of an offseason for what he is adding to this team. And it's not just on the field. It's in the dugout. It is the veteran leadership that he's bringing because he was once a top 5 prospect in baseball. He has been an all-star at age 21 and age 22 in the MLB, and he has been able to just put everything together for this team and, like you said, control the strike zone. When you look at Gleyber Torres, and I have the number right here, Gleyber Torres has 32 walks to 26 strikeouts. One of very few players in Major League Baseball to have that, more walks than strikeouts. These are numbers you hear in the minor leagues from some of the top prospects. You rarely hear it in the majors, and Gleyber Torres is bringing this on a 1-year, $15 million deal. I got a question I want to ask you. Is he playing himself into a contract out of Detroit, or is he playing himself into a contract extension in Detroit?
That's a great question. He's played himself into a contract extension.
100%.
One place or another, like one spot or another. I would love to see it in Detroit. Maybe it gets too expensive, and maybe that was part of the plan all along. Bring him here, help us on a World Series run, kind of like Flaherty. Their initial strategy with bringing in pitchers on 1-year deals, kind of retransforming their pitching, their game. Trading them at the trade deadline. They're definitely not trading this guy at the trade deadline. This team is headed towards the World Series. So you're not getting rid of him. But if he plays himself out of a contract in Detroit, all we can do is tip our cap and say thanks for what you did for this organization. Thanks for helping Javi get back on track. His effect, you talk about him in the locker room or his veteran presence, like that approach. And if you look at it side by side and check out Justin Satawa, who helps with everything at Woodward Sports, a lot on Wake Up Woodward. He did a breakdown of what Gleyber Torres' swing looks like and Javi Baez's swing looks like. They're way more similar than you'd think. This year, Javi Baez has simplified a lot where it's just a much more contained approach. And you see Javi not chasing as much out of the zone. Still sometimes missing in the zone, but not as much as last year, and sometimes he's making these pitchers. He's doing damage when these pitchers try to challenge him with the fastball in the strike zone. That has a lot to do with Gleyber Torres.
I think this team is so deep and everyone's so versatile, but I believe Gleyber Torres truly sets the table at the top. You saw it last night. He gets a game in the one spot. What's he do? Lead off a double, starts bone sawing, gets the boys fired up.
Let's eat.
Literally just fired up. And if it was me, I would give this dude a 2-year, $40 million. Give him 20 a pop for the next. That not this obviously season, but next year and the year after that.
Yes, please.
I'm doing this deal 100%, 2-year, $40 million extension. He's getting 15 right now. I would 100% do that because I know what I'm getting out of Gleyber Torres day in and day out. That gives Kevin McGonigal time if he ends up being a second baseman, shortstop, doesn't matter. It gives everybody in the system time. But I know day in and day out what I'm getting out of Gleyber Torres, and for me, it's the most consistent hitter or a top 3 consistent hitter on the best team in baseball.
Yeah. How many games do you got something to
Underrated,
say?
have to mention this. Underrated defense. I believe it.
Better than I expected, for sure.
Exactly. If he was coming out of New York, I thought this dude was an absolute sieve. Balls were going to be flying through all the time. I saw him with a couple back-to-back diving stops.
Yeah, and he makes all the routine plays.
Yes.
Like, that's what I want.
Maybe the range isn't phenomenal, but I've seen him make back-to-back diving plays in the last 2 games, and I am here for it. The disrespect.
Yeah, I love it.
Yankee fans.
I love it. How often do you see a game in the first inning, Gleyber Torres has a 7, 8, 9, 10 pitch at bat?
Exactly.
Like that's so valuable. We talk about Casey Mize's first inning today, 33 pitches. Like, when your young lineup can see someone in the 1 or the 2 spot, challenge the pitcher, be patient with the pitcher, let them see multiple pitches, and then you get up to 7, 8, 9, 10 pitches. That's so valuable. As a former pitcher, when that happens in the first inning, you're like, shit, like, now I can only go 6 or 7 innings, you start thinking, you start changing how you pitch when you got a guy just a pest at the top. It reminds me of Placido Polanco.
I love that comp. Wow.
That dude never struck out. That dude was on first base at all time.
At all time, yeah.
It's crazy. Gleyber, his average isn't like crazy high. It's 265-ish.
Yeah.
But
just
it's
dropped down today. I believe he went 0 for, which you rarely see out of Gleyber Torres.
But his on-base percentage is 9th in the American League.
Boom.
So he's walking.
Is he a certified all-star, brother?
Right now, yeah. He's the best second baseman in the American League this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. He, outside of Skubal and Torres are the two, they pencil them in. Yeah. I think Riley Green should be an all-star. I think Dylan Dingler should be an all-star. Will Vest is making a case.
I love some Will Vest. We'll get into some relievers sometime. I know we did a lot of starters last time out, but we should definitely break down some relief pitchers. But, yeah, I'm with you. I think you lock in Gleyber Torres. The OBP is there. The more walks than strikeouts. It's just things that you don't hear at the big league level, and that's why I would give him a contract extension ultimately.
Yeah.
Because he's deserved it.
Yeah.
Looking forward. Just check the standings after today. The Detroit Tigers are still the #1 team in baseball, 41-23, and they welcome the second best team in baseball this weekend, Chicago Cubs at 38-23. We'll see if Kyle Tucker is ready to roll. He was a little dinged up. They got a center fielder, Pete Crow Armstrong, who is dynamic, one of the most electric players in baseball. Let's hope the Detroit Tigers can win this series after ultimately tying with the White Sox. Anything you want to get off your chest about this series?
No, it's one of those where you love that the probable pitching is lined up where Skubal's going this weekend.
Yep.
So what do we got? Skubal's going tomorrow, Friday night. So we're filming this Thursday night. You will be seeing this, I believe, Saturday. So Skubal pitched last night. We're hoping that we're
in a win.
Yeah, W.
7 innings.
9 innings, 80 pitches,
no hitter,
18 strikeouts.
Perfect game.
Yeah. No, we're hoping he.
Yeah, exactly.
Skubal starting off a series against one of the best.
I'm feeling confident about it, and I'm feeling good that this will drop at a perfect time after a Skubal great outing.
Exactly. Then you got Flaherty pitching the series in Montero, both of whom have pitched well lately. So this is a heavyweight bout, and dare I say, a possible World Series preview?
I'm all in on it. World Series preview. Somebody's got to take out the Dodgers. If it's the Cubbies, I would be happy with it. I don't hate the Cubs, so I hate the Dodgers. But ultimately, one of these two teams is going to pay Kyle Tucker over $400 million. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, just not the Tigers. Because
Yeah.
we don't need them.
Exactly.
We don't need him. No, Kyle Tucker's having a great season.
know.
Pete Crow Armstrong.
Yeah.
He's having a sensational year.
Yep.
You gotta love if you're living in the Windy City, and the White Sox aren't that great. You got someone to root for.
Yeah.
When the Cubs are good, I don't know. Baseball's better. I don't always like them, but like Cubs are one of those teams. Like
Yeah, they're
I don't
easy
know.
to root for.
Yeah.
Honestly, they are. But not this weekend as the Tigers look to sweep the Cubs after splitting with the White Sox. This was episode 2 of Woodward Tigers. If you do not know, I am Nicholas Koloff, host of Woodward Tigers. Always going to be here with Matt Broder every time if possible. But this is the most fun Tiger season so far.
Yeah.
We have so much to talk about moving forward. Make sure you guys subscribe to Woodward Sports. Comment down below how you're feeling about this Tiger team, what you want us to break down coming up. That's a big one.
We read the comment. I mean, this is
Every single time.
one show a week. Like,
Yeah.
we're programming the show throughout the entire week. So leave a comment.
Leave a
It
comment.
might be a topic.
Yes.
In fact, it probably will be.
It probably will be. Definitely let us know if we have some crazy takes that you don't agree with.
Please.
Every
We're not going to be
single
right
time.
every time.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely not going to be right. It's baseball. We got to be right 30% of the time.
Yeah, we're
be
straight
a
to the Hall of Famer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, that was Woodward Tigers episode 2. Matt Broder, Nicholas Koloff. Catch you guys next week.